So my name is Leonard, but people call me Leo. I'm 25. I'm from Germany, Frankfurt, and currently I'm doing the MBA here at Hult in Boston. So a bit far away from home, but that's what makes it exciting. I come from a science background, so I did my bachelor's and master's in chemistry. And throughout these years, I always wanted a business degree. Like I always knew I wanted to go into like the business world, like this kind of like more kind of job instead of like working in the lab. So an MBA was always made sense. I didn't know when, I didn't know how, but so I graduated last year from my master's, and I knew, okay, in the next few years, I would like to do this. So I moved back because I did it in Canada. I moved back home last year to Germany and immediately felt an urge to take a new adventure. Call it maybe the thrill things of living in another country, but I immediately knew I don't want to stay here right now. And for me, the thing is that I love to learn. And I think that in your 20s, or I believe that's the case, I don't know if I'm right, is the best way to learn things, or like you're the most susceptible to learn things. So I looked at this and said, okay, I kind of feel like if I would go back to uni right now, it would give me more to be better in my job later on than if I would go back to university in 5 years. Also seeing that I had no obligations, no girlfriend, my brother also not at home. So back home, there was nothing except my parents that, and I love them, of course, but that kept me there. So I came back and I said, okay, either this year, next year, or the year after, I want to see into the opportunity of doing an MBA. So then COVID came along and kind of accelerated all of that, because I said, okay, I don't see myself, like I was working during that time. And even before COVID was a big thing, I already saw that I like the impact that it could have. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to look into school. So what do I need? Okay, I need a GMAT, I need these scores. And there's a few schools that I would like to apply to. I said, why not try and see if I get accepted or under what conditions. So I said, I feel better if I take the step forward and like kind of try to take that plunge, you know? So I was looking to a few universities, and Hult also came up because I was looking for something more different, if that makes sense. Because the university I attended in Canada was already that North American typical university environment and lifestyle and experience. So I said, okay, that would be great again, but I already had that, right? So I wanted to see if there's a different angle to learn in. So I then stumbled across Hult, and like marketing of Hult is big, of course, right? Like they reach out to many people. And then I talked to a few of the student advisors, enrollment advisors, and then had an interview. And something in the interview struck me, where the guy on the other end, he read my CV, he went through my resume and said, okay, here are all the things you did. I see you've always been like trying to break out of Germany into new countries. Like even when I was 13, I went on student exchanges to China, like that kind of stuff. And then he asked me, what kind of universities are you looking into? And I named a few, right? And one of them was my university in Canada that I just thought I'd apply to as well because I knew it, right? And he asked me like, isn't your goal, your style at the moment to try to get out of your comfort zone, like to jump into cold water and try new things? I was like, yeah, I would say so. He's like, wouldn't going back to the same place you've been in kind of like defeat that purpose? And I looked at him, I was like, yeah, you got me. Yeah, no, totally, right? Like that's 100% true. And then that moment I was like, you know what? Hult really sounds endearing. I like what they're offering. The scholarship that they were offering was also really enticing. So it was something that I definitely took into consideration, and then said, I want to take this journey now. And so far after the first semester, it kind of like just signaled me that was the right decision, because I'm learning a lot. And I think the age is not a problem. Because it's more about experience and like what kind of knowledge you bring to the table. And an MBA is such a cool thing because there's so many diverse backgrounds and people from different ages, from different industries that all bring together this one unique community or like cohort, you could say, right? So yeah, that was definitely a fear in the beginning that I said, okay, you know what? Maybe my age will like lead to people not respecting me, you know, like not saying, hey, he can contribute because like we are more experienced, but that hasn't been the case at all. And I'm really happy about that. Okay, so I think the first thing that everyone that looks for a school is setting out, even though they are not really like feasible or like really like an actual data point, is everyone looks at rankings, right? Like everyone goes for a school ranking and sees how do you compare in a popularity ranking. It's not about like really showing the quality of a school, because there's so many outlets doing so many different rankings and every single one of them is different, like maybe except the top 5 or top 10. But I was looking for different schools. For example, I looked at like MIT Sloan as well. But the thing is that for me, the biggest point was what is the experience I can get? And that is definitely based on location and the program approach, right? And I'll get back to that in a second. And the second one is definitely a finance aspect. An MBA is expensive and it is an investment, right? But with an investment, you always got to look at what are my returns and what are my possible risks here, and just doesn't make sense overall, right? So if you look at like the MIT program, it's 2 years and 80 or 90K a year. So you're looking at 160K student fees before living costs, right? And the fact is that getting a scholarship there is probably just a lot harder. Right, it's very difficult. So I'd imagine that like even if you're lucky and you got a scholarship, it won't really diminish that $160,000 cost a lot. And I looked at that and I said, well, it would be amazing to attend such a really high prestigious school. I said it's not in my stage. It won't, like, just that 10-month program won't make me better, right? In terms of $160,000, I didn't see the the worth in that amount of money, except maybe the network you would build, right? And I will never know. That could just be like me and a hunch. But for me, it was important that when I looked at Hult's program and said, okay, this is the price and this is the scholarship they're offering, this makes me feel way more comfortable and makes me sleep better at night, right? I looked at the price and said, I will definitely be able to pay that off. I think that's the worthwhile investment. That's what I'm willing to pay for that kind of program, right? So the other thing that I mentioned is the approach that a program is taking, right? So like I said, I did attend that North American university kind of style, and everyone there was a national student, right? They all came from Canada, and I was the one international student. So I had an incredible experience being around people from a new country, and I kind of learned to live, grow, and love that country. However, this time I kind of wanted to be thrown into a big mix of people, right? I think an MBA is so strong because, like I said, so many different people come together. But I think Hult is just cranking that up to like 1,000 by saying, why not just from one country, but from like 52 countries in one class? And I think that is an incredibly risky approach that I just love. Like I love the prospect of that because it's challenging, right? If you put so many different people in a room that have so many different like backgrounds and cultures and like viewpoints and like thought structures, it will almost indefinitely create controversy and conflict, but also maybe just lead to something crazy good. I went to this McKinsey talk once, and this partner said, because I asked him like, hey, so I come from chemistry, is it possible to work in the consulting industry like that was during my bachelor's? And he looked at me like absolutely, like imagine this. Do you think like if I create a team, a superhero team to fight a villain, would I get Superman 10 times, or would I get the entire Justice League, like with every single one having a completely different skill set, right? And that approach was to just like jobs and industries, like you have different people in a team. However, I think that can also be applied to if you have even completely different backgrounds, then that can also really just lead to a super, super interesting mix. And it's what I've been seeing here, pardon me. Like the people come together and find each other, and they kind of are in the same wavelength, but I'm always amazed by how other people approach problems or structures. And yes, there are problems, right? Like if you have that many cultures, it's never just fun and fairy tales. But I think the overall experience is worth it. It's quite the ride. The most difficult thing for me is definitely adapting to the vocabulary. So the business English. So for example, we're doing accounting right now. And I was fortunate enough to have had internships in business positions, like integration management, consulting, accounting, all that. But it was all in German. So what that led to is that here, the biggest difficulty I face is in class, trying to really understand all the jargon, like the acronyms, because there's a lot of them and most people know them already. So for example, in accounting, the first 2 days, I was like, okay, there's a lot of new words that mean a lot of new things, even though I know my English is really solid, that just in the context of things need to be interpreted in some way. That was difficult because that was completely new. I will, on the other hand, say in complete honesty that from a math side of things, from a analytical side of things, it's not difficult. Just because my old chemistry professor would always describe chemistry in like science-related fields as like a fiery hell. That if you've went through that and you come out, like everything else is pretty doable. And he was not as exaggerating. You're being trained in analytical approaches, problem solving, and like just if you are able to understand how the world works on a molecular and like physics level, then you'll probably be able to do some data analytics or marketing. And that's not trying to be cocky. It's just the complexity of the fields is a bit different. But what it allowed me here is that I could really just soak in every class a lot. Because everyone knows this, if they sit in a class and the class is really difficult, all they do is try to, keep up and like write things down and you come out and you feel exhausted. And what this allowed me is to sit down, really listen to the professor, engage in conversation, do my readings and really reflect on things and not feel overwhelmed, and learn a lot from it. And learn a lot of new things. It's like everything I learned here is mostly new to me. That's a great thing. So yeah, I would definitely say accounting is the most difficult at the moment, and I hope there is more challenges ahead because I do like a challenge. So I would definitely say though that it is an advantage to come from a science-related background in terms of definitely the data and math portion. You specifically apply for campus. So again, like earlier when you said what are the criteria, I was looking for something that is close to the Canadian border and to Toronto, so I could go and visit like all my colleagues and contacts up there. So that's not possible right now, but in general, that was my idea. So yeah, you apply for a campus and that campus is your program. So every campus has, of course, different professors and they do the same structure in terms of courses, as far as I know. But your experience from the professor side of things will be different and your cohort will be the one on campus. So in total, yeah, you can say that from campus to campus, it will be a different experience and a different program, but the same degree. So each campus is kind of its own thing. It's just under this global Hult network or community, if you want to say. And we are allowed to rotate in the summer. So for example, so it's trimesters, right? We have a winter class, spring class, and then the summer term. And then the summer term, we are allowed to take electives, and those electives we can take on any campus we want. So there's one in New York, for example. So I could go there and take my electives there and stay in New York for a few weeks. I could also go to San Francisco or Shanghai, Dubai, London, if COVID wasn't a thing, right? So that is normally also a reason why people feel really excited to go to Hult, because that rotation, like it's basically like doing another student exchange on top of international exchange, right? So I was definitely considering going to Shanghai, but at the moment I'm probably more sticking to being here just because of the situation, and looking for an internship, or a solid internship for the summer. But it's definitely an interesting idea that you allow your students to just like go to different countries. Yeah. To make the decision, right, like to apply for a school, And to then, when COVID was becoming bigger and everyone went in lockdown, to still say, you know what, let's do this. I'm still going to move to a new country, build my life there, do this degree. That requires a certain degree of crazy. And that degree of crazy is something that I love in people, because it's a willingness to take a step that most people would not be willing to. And that just shows a certain quality that I would want from colleagues. And it's also a quality that I want to from people that I engage with. And those people are the ones who came here, right? Everyone who came here must have had some goal in this to say, I want and I need to do this right now. It can be anything, financial, personal, career, right? But there is something there, there's a drive. And I like people like that. So I would say the positive thing is that the quality of people in my program, and there's always a mix, right? There's always more high quality and like people maybe that you don't get along with. But in general, I think there's a vibe that everyone came here saying, you know what, COVID will not stop me. And I kind of like that. I would say that's a positive thing. Another positive thing is that it helped me personally. It's an incredible agile environment, right? Like you need to adapt to all the new circumstances. It's just more problems in your daily life that you need to like converse with. So what happens is that things get harder, but with things being harder, you get more hardened, right? So the more you have to face problems, the better you become at solving them. And like in general, just in life, you're not as susceptible to new things, right? The more you swim in cold water, the easier it gets. So I would say that I have to give big props to Hult because it's not all online. So they're doing this hybrid model where we still can go to campus, and like 3 times out of the week, normally we are in classroom, and like the other 2 times we are in overflow rooms or at home. So it's kind of this mix where they're trying to get as many people into class as possible. And then the people who are like, it's mixed, so you rotate all the time, then sometimes you have to go online. But they're doing a really, really good job at it. So it feels natural. And like you're saying, like working with colleagues online, or just like being online is not something that really has a big effect on the learning experience to a degree that I thought it would have. Like I look at it and I say, this is definitely an okay drawback from the situation we are in. And I'm okay to take that hit because I knew what I was letting myself into. It's not something where I sit here and I say, this is unacceptable. I definitely like their approach. It's an interesting question though, for the first generation COVID students. Yeah. I'm a person that always tries to find and surround myself with people that I find interesting and fun to work with, and that kind of share the same values and goals. So, and I found a few of them, like 5 people in the program right now, where I'm like, I do want to invest into this relationship, and this is a give and take, right? I like networking on a very close and personal level. Something that is not, hey, I want something from you, but more I'm interested in you and we would be good working together, and then opportunities come from that. I feel that feels more natural than just going up to someone like, hey, you have a connection that I want and I'm gonna put up a nice face to you, that's not my style. So there's, from the people that I really like to engage with, there's some really interesting backgrounds there, different countries, Ukraine, Mexico, China, that I will most definitely stay in contact with, and there will be opportunities coming, maybe not, who knows. They do try, they offer the resources to better our CV, to better our resumes. And right now I'm definitely getting to the group of applying to jobs and everything, but I would say they give the resources, but like they won't. They even said that they will give the resources, they will try to help you, but they won't get you a job, if that makes sense. But that's logical. I think that's reasonable. Like, we are MBAs, we are here to, like, if someone would find a job for me, I would kind of feel bad about it. Like I want to create my own future, my own like destiny, my own like however deep you want to go. So like looking at what they do, I'm happy with it, but I will dive more into it. Like probably if you ask me 3 months, I can give you a better answer once this has all picked up the pace a bit, because at the moment, this first semester was all about establishing connections, establishing my clubs, establishing like the ambassador position and like my own life here. And now that dust has settled a bit, now I can, push forward even more. I can just gut feeling, absolutely. So for me, I'm a very calculated person. I'm a very pragmatic and like a person who says, I know myself. So if I would buy, for example, last week for Cyber Monday, I bought a TV, right? I would never buy a TV that afterwards gives me buyer's regret or like buyer's remorse. I do my research. I will exactly like weigh the pros and cons, then buy it. And basically once the product works as I expect it to, like to hold to the standards that I want, then I'm happy. And it's the same here, where like earlier when I talked about the entire scholarship and like making that this is what I will pay, it's a big factor into how happy I am with engaging with this. Because if you pay for something and it just doesn't live up to your quality, your standards of what you want, then you will dread the entire experience, because every day you will wake up and think, damn it, I paid so much money and this is not what I want for an entire year and your entire life probably, right? And I didn't want that. So when I looked at this, I said, this is the price. I'm happy with this. I'm content. And so far, I love the experience because I am here in America. It's what I wanted to do. I fulfilled my dream of going to business school. The fear that I had of like it being too early for an MBA completely vanished because I'm completely able to participate in any degree, even more so than some others, and like have an impact on the whole community with leading a club, leading another club, being, an ambassador. Like I can leverage my strength, I can build my skills. And funnily enough, like this weekend, my mom asked me, hey, do you learn anything, right? Is this worth anything? Like, will you come home and say, I will be able to do things in a different way? Or was this just a check mark for your CV? And a degree to some extent is always a check mark on your CV. Of course, it's always something that you put on there to show, hey, I've done this step. However, for me, personal growth is always important. And over the last 3 months that I've been here, it feels like way longer. It feels like I've already grown a lot. And that's not from an academic perspective in terms of like the challenges, but more so from the mindset change, the people that I'm around with, the new environment, because the business school is very different to the chemistry industry, right? And just from the line of thinking. So I will come home and definitely I've learned a few things, skills, but also like personal growth. So what I would say to prospective students is, and this is what I've been saying to everyone who's approaching me, is really look at, like, I will not stand here and say Hult is the end all be all for everyone, right? It's a very personal fit for me that did the right things at the right time and is continuing to do the right things right now. I would definitely say look for what's ticking your boxes, look for what makes sense for you. If you're kind of the same as me in terms of like jumping into cold water, looking for that adventure, looking for an environment that will completely flip you upside down, Hult is definitely an experience that we're considering, especially because with the scholarships, if you are asking for them and if you're looking for them, that is a really enticing prospect in comparison to other business schools. I would say don't get too distracted by rankings. I, of course, don't go to any business school. Like, look at what they're doing, look at how they're perceived by job opportunities, and like just make sure that it fits into your life. Like, if there's a thread running through your life, right? Because for me it makes sense. Like if I tell the story to my friends why I went here, they were like, yeah, you've always been that way, right? Like this totally fits your narrative. But it's just like, for example, people ask me, hey, you studied chemistry, why did you work in consulting or accounting? You need to be able to connect the dots and like explain why that makes sense to people who might not understand, right? Because job seekers, employers, they understand, but some people might not. So yeah, maybe your local business school is a better fit for you, but it really depends on who you are, where you want to go, and what you want to achieve. And like for me, Hult kind of allows me to pursue that goal.